Hey, welcome. Today we're jumping into a topic that so many of you have asked about: how to give your memory a serious upgrade. We're going to break down the science behind it all into simple, practical steps you can start using, well, right now. So let's just get right to it. The big question: how can I actually increase my memory power? It really feels like it should be a superpower, but here's the thing: it's a skill. And just like any other skill, you can train it, you can sharpen it, and you can get way, way better. But first things first, if we really want to upgrade our memory, we got to understand how it's built in the first place. So let's take a super quick tour of how your brain actually makes a memory. Okay, so every single memory you've ever had, from your first birthday to what you had for breakfast, goes through these three critical stages: encoding, storage, and retrieval. If just one of these steps fails, poof, the memory is gone. Think of it like a chain. It's only as strong as its weakest link. It all kicks off with encoding. This is that aha moment of learning, where your brain takes what you're seeing or hearing and converts it into a format it can actually store. The save button analogy here is perfect, because if you're not really paying attention and you don't actively save the info, it's just gone. Now, this famous saying gets right to the heart of what's physically happening in your brain. It's a process called long-term potentiation. Basically, when you learn something, a specific team of brain cells all fire at the same time. The more you revisit that information, the more they fire together, and the stronger their connection gets. You are literally, physically rewiring your own brain. How cool is that? Okay, so now that we know how a memory is built, how do we make it stronger? If you've made it this far, there's no reason not to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Well, the science points to a really clear three-part framework for a total memory overhaul. So here's the big picture. Improving your memory isn't about finding one single magic trick. It's really about a combination of things: using the right learning techniques, adopting habits that keep your brain healthy, and of course, keeping your mind active and connected with others. We're definitely going to cover all of these down the line, but for today, we are zeroing in on that first one. We're talking about the powerful cognitive tools you can use immediately to learn more effectively and actually remember what you learn. All right, let's open up the toolkit. Now, these aren't just passive little tips. These are active, sometimes even tough strategies that have been proven time and time again to work way better than the methods most of us grew up with. Okay, if you remember nothing else, remember this. The single most powerful technique is called retrieval practice. And this is so important. Real learning doesn't happen when you're shoving information into your brain. It happens when you work to pull it back out. Just rereading your notes feels like you're doing something, but it's shockingly inefficient compared to actively quizzing yourself. And here's exactly how you do it. These aren't just study methods, they're retrieval workouts. I mean, think about it. When you try to explain a concept to a friend from scratch without looking at your notes, you're forcing your brain to find and rebuild that knowledge. That's what strengthens those neural pathways you were talking about earlier. Up next, we have spaced repetition, which is basically the arch enemy of cramming for a test. When you spread out your learning over time, you actually forget a little bit in between sessions. Now, that sounds bad, but it's actually a really good thing. It makes your brain work harder to retrieve the information the next time. And that effort is what signals to your brain, hey, this is important. Let's hang on to this for the long haul. And hey, if you're not totally convinced, just look at this data. The research is crystal clear. The utility, or how effective these strategies are, is rated high for things like retrieval and spacing. Now look all the way down at the bottom. Rereading, the go-to method for millions of people, is rated low. Honestly, this one chart could completely change how you learn forever. And speaking of learning effectively, here is a wild number to keep in mind. Research suggests that to properly encode one piece of information to re-save it, you need about 8 seconds of pure, focused, uninterrupted attention. So if you're multitasking while trying to learn something, you're not even really starting the process. So we've covered the heady-hitting learning strategies. Now let's get into some of the fun stuff: your brain's cheat codes. I'm talking about mnemonic devices. These are just clever tricks to make that whole encoding and retrieval process even easier. This paradox perfectly illustrates a core principle of memory. Studies show people are way better at remembering that a person is a baker and remembering that their last name is Baker. So why is that? Well, the profession, a baker, creates this rich mental image. You can picture the hat, the apron, the flour. The name baker, on the other hand, is just an abstract sound. Our brains are absolutely wired to remember concrete visual things, not abstract facts. Chunking is a technique that you, me, all of us already use every single day. A 10-digit phone number is kind of a lot to remember, but three small groups of numbers, that's easy. And you can apply this to literally anything you need to memorize. Long shopping lists, complex ideas, you name it. Just break it down into smaller, meaningful chunks. Now, this one is an ancient technique used by Greek orators thousands of years ago, and it is unbelievably powerful. It's called the memory palace. You basically tap into your brain's amazing spatial memory by placing things you need to remember in specific spots in a familiar location, like your own house. So, to remember a grocery list, you'd mentally walk through your front door and picture a giant bunch of bananas on the welcome mat. And you turn into the living room and see a carton of eggs sitting on your couch. It sounds weird, but trust me, it works. And of course, you've got the classics. There are acronyms like HOMES for the Great Lakes, acrostics like Every Good Boy Does Fine for music notes, and simple rhymes, right? In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. They all work on the same principle. They create a simple structure or a hook that makes boring, abstract information much easier to pull back out of your brain. So there you have it. We've just loaded up our cognitive toolkit with some heavy-duty learning strategies and some really clever mnemonic devices. You can think of all these things as the software for a better memory. But even the best software is useless without healthy hardware. And that brings us to the next absolutely critical question. What are the daily habits that actually protect the physical structure of my brain and keep it running at peak performance for years and years to come? How do we actually protect our brains? We're going to get into the real science backed habits that can help keep your mind sharp for your entire life. I mean, it's a question we've all probably asked, right? And it's not about some far off distant future. It's about the small, meaningful things we can do right now to make sure our minds stay healthy and vibrant for all the years to come. And trust me, some of the answers might really surprise you. So let's just get one thing straight right off the bat. You know, all those brain training apps and games, they can be fun for sure. But the evidence is getting clearer and clearer. They don't really improve your overall cognitive ability. Real, lasting brain health isn't about playing one specific game, it's a result of your entire lifestyle. So, why does our lifestyle matter so much? Well, it all comes down to one incredible scientific concept: neuroplasticity. This basically means your brain isn't fixed, it's not set in stone. It has this astonishing ability to reorganize itself, to form new connections, and it can do this at any age. And honestly, this is the really helpful part, a foundation for everything we're about to talk about. Okay, so how does this neuroplasticity thing actually work in practice? This phrase right here sums it up perfectly. Every single time you learn something new, certain brain cells or neurons fire up. And when they fire together over and over again, the connection between them gets stronger and faster. This process has a fancy name, long-term potentiation. But what it really means is that your brain is literally rewiring itself based on what you do and what you learn. All right, so let's get into it. How do we build a better brain? We'll start with section 1, fueling your brain. Think of these as the absolute non-negotiable foundations for keeping your mind healthy. We're going to break this section down into three crucial pillars: getting your body moving, getting enough high quality rest, and of course, feeding your brain the right stuff. First step, exercise. And we're talking about aerobic exercise here, the kind that really gets your heart pumping. It is just incredible for your brain. It literally increases the oxygen flowing to your brain, and research shows it can even increase the size of your hippocampus, which is basically the command center for your learning and memory. Next, let's talk about sleep. And I can't stress this enough. Sleep is not passive downtime. When you're sleeping, your brain is actually working incredibly hard. This is when it does its housekeeping, and most importantly, this is when memory consolidation happens. Your brain takes all the important things you learned during the day and locks them into your long-term storage. The science on this is really clear. The vast majority of adults need between 7.5 to 9 hours a night, period. And of course, there is nutrition. You know, just like a high performance car, your brain needs high quality fuel to run its best. And lucky for us, scientists had actually designed a specific evidence based diet for neuroprotection that's shown some fantastic results. It's called the MIND diet. So, what is the MIND diet? Well, it's actually pretty simple. As you can see here, it's all about loading up on brain healthy foods like leafy greens, berries, nuts, and fish. And at the same time, you limit the foods that are high in saturated and trans fats, so less red meat, butter, and sweets. The healthy foods are just packed with antioxidants and omega-3s that help protect your brain cells from damage. So you might be wondering, doesn't actually work? Oh yeah, get this. Studies show that people who follow the mind diet pretty closely have a rate of cognitive decline that's equivalent to being 7.5 years younger. Just let that sink in. A tangible impact on your brain's age just from the food you choose to eat. Okay, so we filled the brain. Now for section two. Let's work out your brain. This is all about active mental fitness and social stimulation. You've probably heard this a million times, but it's a classic for a reason. It's absolutely true. Your cognitive abilities really do operate on a use it or lose it principle. To keep your brain sharp and create new pathways, you have to consistently give it a good challenge. But what does that really mean to challenge it? Is doing crossword puzzles enough? What does the research actually say is the most powerful way to learn new information and, more importantly, make it stick? The answer is so fascinating, and it's right here in this table. Now, I want you to look at that bottom row, rereading. We all do it, it feels productive, but it turns out it's a really low utility strategy. The most effective methods are active. Look at the top two: retrieval practice, which is just a fancy way of saying testing yourself, and spaced practice, spreading your learning over time. They're highly effective because they force your brain to struggle a bit, to recall the info, and that struggle is what strengthens the neural pathways. So, when you're looking for a new hobby to challenge your brain, look for these four things. One, it should teach you something new and unfamiliar. Two, it has to be genuinely challenging, something that needs your full focus. Three, it should be a skill you can build on, from simple to more complex. And four, this is crucial, it has to be rewarding and enjoyable for you. Think about learning an instrument, picking up a new language, or diving into a game like chess. Now, let's talk about a piece of a puzzle that is so important that often gets overlooked: social connection. And this isn't just some soft, feel good idea. A major study from the Harvard School of Public Health found that the people with the most active social lives have the absolute slowest rate of memory decline. That is a huge deal. It really makes perfect sense when you stop and think about it. Engaging with another person is an incredibly complex mental workout. You're using your memory, you're paying attention, you're practicing empathy, you're problem solving, all in real time. So, yeah, building and maintaining meaningful relationships might just be the ultimate brain boosting activity. Okay, let's bring it all home in our final section, section three. We're going to look at your brain's future and how to put all of these powerful ideas into practice. So here it is, your simple, actionable checklist for protecting your brain. Move your body, get that heart rate up, prioritize your sleep, hit that 7.5 to 9 hour sweet spot, fuel your brain with a diet like mind, challenge yourself by learning something new and complex, and please make time to connect with the people you care about. If there's just one thing you take away from all of this, I hope it's this: your brain's future is not predetermined. Because of neuroplasticity, you have a remarkable amount of control. It's something you can actively shape and improve every single day, starting right now. And that leaves us with one last important question. We know your brain is capable of incredible change. It is ready and waiting to go new connections. So, what new, challenging, and rewarding skill will you start learning this week? If you like our content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next videos.